wife out?
No, I would never. They didn't hear it. It was during the intro. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I know what you said.
I know something you don't. Hey. Welcome back to New Gen Old School, new camera, actually.
Yep.
I'm pretty freaking pumped about this camera.
It is a
I'm
nice
not pumped
camera.
that it cost money, but hey.
No. I have camera envy. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. For
Yep.
today only, Nick does not have the same camera as me.
Yeah.
Which will be the first and potentially the last time I ever get to claim superiority over you.
Probably,
That's good.
yeah. This was like, it's like a Make-A-Wish kind of thing where it was like, I have to give it to him, you know?
Dude, I was like, yeah, and then you just, oh my gosh, you just dropped an anvil on my head.
I'm kidding.
I just said I
love
had
you, Tanner.
one day to claim superiority, and you just put me in a freaking high chair and just said, "Oh, the spaghetti," like you just like ended me. Gosh, dang it, man. Ow. Anyway. Well, Nick, why might you need a camera, huh?
Well, you see, I also, I'm going to be starting my own podcast. It's not at all in the same space as Tanner's. It's for people who are just kind of trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, 18 to 24, who want to escape the whole like clock in, clock out, 9 to 5 for 40 years and then die.
Facts. Yeah, and I wanted to give a shout out because like it's not just, I wanted to clarify because there's plenty of like finance bro 20-something-year-old podcasts just like being like, bro, like I just like had this revolutionary idea where I just spent less than I made, and it's like, whoa, that's
Profit.
crazy. Actually, no, they don't even say that. They're like, I heard about this crazy thing called Dogecoin. To the moon, baby. You know.
No, I'm not the standard. Like, I'm gonna watch Wolf of Wall Street and then do cocaine and all my money's gonna be great. It's like I hate spending money unless it's going to a savings account, a CD, or the stock market.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me like as an outsider say like Nick is not a finance bro, and I will say like God has given him the most amazing connections, like right place, right time, and the right heart to connect with people, the right curiosity to connect with people. Mm-hmm. Like you have built such a network of amazing, helpful, caring, loving entrepreneurs that want to share wisdom. They just don't necessarily want to teach at a college or anything like that. Or maybe some of them do, but I just mean like they don't always have a forum to teach.
Right. And
so you being able to then go and use those connections you have to benefit, our generation is awesome. So stay tuned for that. Of course, you'll hear it here first when that gets launched because I have no issue shouting you
Get
out.
A plug.
Yeah, no, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, not that that's that impressive right now on episode whatever.
Hey man, we're getting there.
Yeah, no, it's good, but
it's all about consistency.
Yeah. Hopefully this episode comes out before you've launched that.
It will. It's going to be a couple months from the time of this recording.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
I have interviews to do and I'm working my first few guests in at the moment, and then also I need to do 5 or 6 more interviews after that. So
nice.
It'll be a while before those are all edited and uploaded. And
oh, dude, I'm so pumped for you.
Me too. It's gonna be.
And now that I've just went through that first beginning journey, I can share what I've learned from that as well. So,
yep.
But for today only, I have the better camera, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Today and today only.
Yeah, because he's just gonna go back to the store tomorrow and get this one.
Yeah, probably. Well,
we'll test it out too.
We can see. We'll see when we get it on the computer, just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure.
Right. This one just turns out to be dog water.
Yeah,
just like it's
unfortunate.
absolutely.
Well, because I think the one that I bought was technically more expensive. Because the open box version of this one was $40 less than the brand new version of this one.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, that is a perfect segue in today's topic. Today's topic is money evil? And why does no one want to talk about money?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Cool.
I feel like we need to disclaim that like any financial advice that we give is not advice that you should follow. It's just what we would do in a situation.
Thank you for covering my butt.
You're welcome.
That was good. Yeah, this is purely speculative.
I'm not telling you to do this, but this is what I would do if I were in the shoes that you're in or I'm in.
However, can I say for objectively, and I don't want this to sound not humble, but objectively, because of the wisdom we have received from other people much smarter than ourselves, as two 23-year-olds, we are in a very good financial spot. I'll just put it that way. Like, not like meaning like, oh, we're just freaking balling, we're making like $150,000 a year. But it's like we have discipline and things in place to live below our means and a eternal perspective on our money.
Right.
that makes our decisions. So that's why I say like, it's our opinion, but don't like necessarily disregard it, because most of our opinion is things that we've learned from other people. But don't also take it as legal financial advice.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not certified for that.
Nope. Neither one of us are. And plus, this is a Christian podcast. This isn't even about money.
It's true, but today it is.
Right. Yeah. Because money is not a. I feel like money, people make it so taboo, and I think that actually makes it worse. You know, if you won't talk about it, it makes it like this disgusting, gross, hush hush kind of thing. But if only the people who you don't want to have money, or like that really cannot handle money, are the ones who pursue having income, God's given us all gifts, and we can use those to create income, because income, at least in the United States, income is made by adding value.
Right.
You can't take somebody's money. You can persuade them out of it by selling something to them that is worthy of them parting with their money.
Right.
Like Apple didn't, come and knock my door down and shove an iPhone down my throat. You know what I mean? Like it was worth it to me to spend the money. So I think it's strange, to be honest, just like to we can just start here. I think it's very strange the way that people get so weird about money, especially, and this is just my opinion, especially Christians should not be weird about money. Because in my opinion, and I don't even think this is my opinion because this is also biblical as well, the heart to see all of your resources, your finances, as a gift from God that you are meant to steward, should make your decisions. And if you're just talking about God's money that you're stewarding, why would it be weird to talk about that if it's not yours and you're not claiming that you're all that, Like, I'll start with a story, but I was listening to John Maxwell speak once, and basically John's talking. Okay, John Maxwell is talking, #1 leadership author in the world. I think 50 plus books, 80 different languages, like just amazing dude. Okay, and very humble. He used to be a pastor, very godly. And so he's talking, and he's giving a speech, and he's talking about stewardship and that kind of stuff. And he says, "Does anybody have a $100 bill that I could have?" And remarkably fast, like insanely fast. Immediately somebody in the front row stands up, runs straight to the stage, and hands him a $100 bill. He's like, "Wow, like look at your generosity. That was so amazing, And he was, and then he said, what made it so easy for you, to come and bring me that dollar bill, the $100 bill?" And the guy was like, "'Cause it's not mine." And they're like, "Huh?" Everyone's confused. And then he explains that before he had gotten up to talk, John had handed this guy a $100 bill and said, "Hold on to this. And at some point during my talk, I'm going to ask you for it." And so he was like, I didn't have to think about it. That was very easy for me to give you that $100 bill because it wasn't mine in the first place. And then he was like, every dollar that we have is not ours in the first place. Even the skills that we have to make an income are a gift from God. He could take them away in a moment if you couldn't handle money. If it's going to destroy yourself and the only way to save you is to keep you from yourself, he could take it away in a minute. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, But then also the opportunity that has been open to you in the connections that you have and that kind of stuff are also all a blessing, So when you go through your life with the mindset that your money, you're just handling the mail for God, and you're trying to spend it in ways that you think are worthy. And I'm not meaning like never having any fun, because I know God also wants you to enjoy your time here on earth and enjoy the things that he's created, even down to like coffee, that kind of stuff. Like, he created the coffee plant, or whatever. And somebody perfectly takes it, cultivates it, roasts it perfectly. Your favorite barista just like makes that espresso shot just perfectly, mixes it with fresh milk and all that kind of stuff. And you're experiencing the amazing flavors of things that God has created. Like, it's not just that your money needs to just be spent on things that are boring so that you can seem like, I'm just so generous and so, so sacrificial, But it's that, like, that's just your perspective on money is, okay, what can I do with this that is going to benefit my family and benefit the world and the kingdom, So anyway, that was a really long roundabout way for me to say the reason I think it's so strange that people get so, like Christians specifically, get so weird and touchy about money is it's not ours.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see it that way. Christians don't. We're not supposed to see it that way. All good things are a gift from God. You know. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's my initial. I wanted to start on like a initial like first thoughts, and then we can just ramble on past that point and like just dive into thoughts and experiences we've had. But what about you? Like, what's your first like initial thought when you hear like, is money evil, and why? Not why is it evil, but why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah, I think for me, you bring up a good point where like the main goal of it is that like this is God's resource that He has given me, and it is my job to steward it. I don't think that that's the base level of understanding of the average person in church. I think it's like it's pretty easy, like, and this is something I struggle with as well, to be like, this is my money, I worked, I made it. Like, God didn't just hand me $100 bill. I went out, I cultivated, I added value to someone else's life, and then I got this. And then I tithe because I'm supposed to, because the Bible says, or whatever. And so it's easy for people to see that 10% as God's money and that 90% is theirs. And that's something I like I said, I struggle with as well.
As everybody does. We're not perfect. We have fear in our nature. I mean, I was just talking about, I hate spending money, even though I see this project as a way that I'm serving God. So spending money on a camera to then benefit this project for the glory of God, why I shouldn't be anxious about that. Mm-hmm. And yet spending that money because of the insecurity of this world and the fear, it's not easy. And I know the Bible says do not be anxious. You know, look at the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor spin, and yet He clothes them. Like they're more beautiful than Solomon in all of his splendor. How much more important are you than those flowers? And I'm like, I get that. But like in the practice, it's really difficult. And I'm trying and I'm working on it. And through Jesus's comfort, like you can get better and better and better at that and learn to trust Him more. But I agree with you. It's like, no, this is mine, and I have to store it. I have to put it in acorns. And then you read the parable of like the 3 servants, and the one who buried his money that he was trusted with, buried it in sand to keep it safe and took it out, and he was called wicked and lazy. And I was like, I don't know, I'm scared, you know? Like, but don't be scared, you know? Anyway, so like, I'm just saying I agree with you. I'm not trying to say that I'm good at this or perfect at this at all. It's just I know that's how I should see money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the ideal way to see it, is how you were describing it. I think also too, there's a lot of misconceptions, and I've been blessed, I guess I would say, that I've seen kind of a broad range of denominations, and it seems that like most of the ones get caught on. There's 2 extremes, right? There's the side that's like the love of money is the root of all evil, and it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. There's that camp, and then there's the camp of God just wants you to be happy. He just wants you to be wealthy. The more you give, the more you get.
Oh, prosperity gospel. You've got like the what are not Muppets? The more you get, what is it? The Kermit the Frog hand. Is it
okay? I don't know. Anyways,
I wasn't making fun
of it. The more you give, the more you get. And there's no like...
Oh, it's Randy Feltface. That's what that is.
Okay.
Sorry, anyway.
Those are like the kind of extremes. But like nowhere in the Bible does it say like God wants you to be healthy, wealthy, and taken care of. Like that's not necessarily a scriptural thing.
I'd say the opposite of true. It says,
yeah,
they have hated me, they will hate you.
Exactly.
In this world you will have tribulation, but take heart, for I have overcome the world.
Right. And so there's peace in knowing that like there's something after death, but sometimes death is what happens. Not to get like super heavy, but like
it's coming for us all. Nobody makes it off this rock alive.
Right. Unless you're Jesus or Enoch,
Christ beams you up, you know.
Yeah, which it happens, but I don't think it's happening to me. So anyways, there seems to be kind of a misconception of like the love of money is the root of all evil, which could be true.
Well,
like,
the love of money
is,
but not money.
Right. And the love of money in the sense of making it your master. And also it's easier for a rich man it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven. If you keep reading, it says, but with Christ, all things are possible.
Right, exactly.
And everyone just seems to forget about that part. And I didn't even notice it until someone who's been poured into my life mentioned that to me and was like, well, if you keep reading, the next verse just says, with Christ, all things are possible.
Right. And also, I believe fact check me on this, or somebody will at some point, but I remember hearing, if I'm not mistaken, that the eye of the needle is actually the name for that tiny little hole in the side of a stable that they would bring a camel through. So it's harder for a camel to go through like an eye of a needle. But it's not talking about a sewing needle, as far as I've heard. Like, is what I've been taught. Is it's not talking about a sewing needle. It's talking about the needle of the freaking stable, which happens multiple times a day. But the camel just doesn't really like do it itself. It's difficult.
Yeah,
but
I was told it was
comfy.
Verbatim. I've never heard of that one before, but
yeah, let me fact check this really quick because like that's something I heard once. But that either way, even if that's not true, that doesn't change the teaching because of that second line where it literally says, "All things are possible through Christ." Right. I'm not even going to look it up because it doesn't matter either way. That could totally not be true, and doesn't matter. I prefaced it with that could not be true. That's something I heard once, but like it happens all the time. Not to mention, Abraham was freaking loaded. Mm-hmm. David, Solomon, Jacob. All of them were freaking loaded. Mm-hmm. Okay,
even Job twice. Well, he was loaded, and then he was not, and then he was loaded again.
And then he was double loaded.
Yeah,
yeah. Like all these people are so wealthy, mm-hmm. but it was never a promise to them. Mm-hmm. They stewarded well, and God blessed them in a way that he felt he could trust for their story. Mm-hmm. Not everybody is going to be blessed financially, but every person will be blessed eternally.
Right.
If you seek after God. And we talked about that in our last episode. It's like, give us the church, he will give back to you financially. And it's like, no. No, prosperity gospel is BS.
Yep.
Like, you're going to give, and you will be blessed. But like I think I said in the last time we talked was, if the biggest thing you got from giving your money was that money never becomes your God, worth it.
Yeah, 100%. It's worth the 10%.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. And I wanted to touch on tithing because we just kind of talked about that for a second. So that's a mixed thing. Like you were saying, like some denominations are like, give your 10%, whatever. But they neglect some of the other verses in the Bible that say like God wants a cheerful giver specifically.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you can give 10%, and I'm going to preface that because there's a difference between don't feel like you can give and
don't want to.
And don't want to. Yeah. Because like if you literally feel like you cannot give 10%, somebody at the church guilt tripping you into giving that 10% is not going to bring anything but hurt. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. It's about the pursuit of God and being like, you know what, God, in your word it says this is important. I want to trust you with my finances. I would rather trust you with 100 than trust myself with 90. Mm-hmm. Or I'd rather trust you with 90 than trust me with 100. Mm-hmm. Because if it's in his hands, what can't he do? What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who could ever be against us? Romans 8:31. You know what I mean? It's like God is so much more capable than we are to take care of our finances because guess what? He knows the trends. We can't predict the stock market. He can. And I'm not saying he's going to use it to be like, oh, what's that? What's that?
I need to buy Amazon right now.
Right now? Okay. Yes, God. No, I'm just saying like he can orchestrate things for your good in a way that you could never predict.
Right.
And that's why I want him in charge. Mm-hmm. I don't want me in charge. Mm-hmm. If I'm in charge, Lord help us all.
Yeah.
I want him in charge.
I think it's like, if you think about it, we are in charge in a sense because when the master gave the servants the talents, he left. He gave them and he left. And he said, you do with this what you can. And they come back a year later and say, hey, look, this is what we've done with your money. Or I'm sorry, he comes back and they say, this is what we've done with your money. And so I would say it's more of a calling for us to be wise and educated about what we're doing with our money rather than saying, oh, well, God's going to take care of it, so I don't have to think about it.
No, I like that's a better way to put that. And honestly, I like that a lot more than what I said.
Yeah.
Because I agree with that more. I agree with that more because if you look at all of human history, God has used man, even though he does not need us, he has used man to bring about good change in the world, that kind of stuff. Our initial purpose when we were put on this earth was to cultivate the land.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it was to cultivate the earth that he created, and it was perfect. But he wanted to share in that with us, and even all the way down to the fact that we can actually play a role in creating children. That we get to play a role through procreation with a spouse, that we get to actually create life.
Mm-hmm.
By his grace, he has let us be a part of that.
Right.
Mind-blowing. Why would finances be any different?
Yeah.
And I like what you said.
I think it's definitely more of like a responsibility on us rather than saying, oh, this is all God's money. He's just going to do whatever and it'll multiply or not. And that, to me, that seems very passive and very cop-out of like a way of thinking about it. But to me, like one of the things we're called to seek, or probably the only thing we're called to seek in the Bible other than God, is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeking the wisdom to be wise with your money, to be smart with your spending, to cultivate your money, your investments, whatever you do, even if
which
it's just,
the Bible has plenty of instruction on too.
Right. And so I don't know. To me, it seems more of like a personal responsibility rather than just saying, oh yeah, God will take care of it.
Right. No, I just mean that like if you don't trust him with your money,
Mm-hmm.
the risk of you becoming that first servant that's so afraid,
Mm-hmm.
thinking if I lose this, I will never have more,
Mm-hmm.
then you are setting yourself up for pain.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's more what I mean. That's why I liked what you said better, because I was like, no, that is what I mean. No, I love that. And okay, a little thing that just popped in my mind I want to get your opinion on. What do you think about gambling? Because I don't think it's black and white. What do you think?
I am not an expert in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I have never, to me, I have not read yet. I'm not saying it's not in there, but I have not found a point where it's like gambling is bad. Don't do it. Because even when they were trying to find out who was going to replace Judas, they cast lots.
Right.
And I don't know if it's a Levitical law.
What is bigger gambling? Gambling your money or gambling who's going to be the new 12th disciple?
Right.
Yeah.
And so like to me, I don't know if it's like a Levitical law thing that like people get hooked on and that's where it's at or what. But like there's got to be a reason for Christians to believe that is my point to this. I don't know what it is.
To believe that gambling is bad?
Yes. So to me, I think it's just everything in moderation. The Bible talks about like Jesus turned water into wine, and Paul is offered by Timothy wine to help with the pain in his side. But there's also the other, like everything to a certain point. Mm-hmm. Everything in moderation, as my dad always said as a kid. Everything in moderation. So I think,
which is a good thing to know.
Yeah, and so I think
you can get annoyed by like hearing it too much, but like
yeah.
that's wise counsel.
And so gambling, I think in that same sense, where it's like, oh, it's just something fun that we do, and I enjoy like going to the casino with the boys, putting $100 on black and see what happens.
Just seeing what happens. Yeah.
Or like playing 21 or blackjack or Texas Hold'em. To me, that's fine. I don't find that sinful, but I think when that becomes what you worship, that's I think when it puts you at a risk or puts your family at a risk. That is when I would say,
amen. Okay,
it is not okay.
I agree. I was thinking if you spent $60 on a video game, like on, say you bought the new like NCAA, whatever.
GTA 6.
Yeah, let's say, coming soon, 2030.
Oh, jeez, someday. We have two podcasts.
We have two podcasts before GTA 6. That's hilarious. But if you spent $60 on the new GTA 6 or $70, $80, whatever it's gonna be, what's the difference between that and you spending $80 on a cow game that you press a button and it's just like woo and like animations and stuff that are cool? I don't see anything wrong with that in moderation at that point, because like I just touched on earlier, being smart with your finances doesn't mean never having fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean never, because actually having fun is charging for your soul, and that's a wise investment. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So I'm saying if you don't have fun, you're going to become a serial killer. But I think that makes total sense. Now, where you were saying like when people are like, oh, I just got to keep going. I got to keep going. Whatever. I think that's where it becomes a problem too. It's the same to me as alcohol, where Jesus and his followers, and actually most people at that time, drank wine all the time. He turned water into wine. If wine was sinful, why would he provide it for people?
Right.
He would have rebuked it. And I know there's some denominations that are like, well, it's all, obviously he knew they were already drunk, and so he'd make it, grape juice. And I'm like, yeah, where does it say that?
Yeah.
Nowhere. Stop screaming where the Bible whispers.
Yeah.
If it doesn't say anything, shut up. Like those kinds of things, like drinking wine, like it's got antioxidants. It's good in moderation. It makes the heart glad. It's unifying amongst people. But have too much, and then you become angry, belligerent, depressed, whatever. It's outside of moderation.
Yeah. And I would say I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I would go as far as to say, like, the Bible specifically says, do not be a drunkard. And I think another dividing point...
AKA a drunken fool.
Right. And I think the dividing point is drunkard a lifestyle, or is drunkard getting drunk once? And that's it.
I'd say it's a lifestyle.
Okay.
I'd also say you have to be careful, because I know that times when I've been doing really well on abstaining from like pornography and that kind of stuff, which is so good for your heart to get out of those things. Drinking by myself is dangerous because it tones down my decision making, and it just opens me up for attack.
Right.
So you do also have to take into account alcohol specifically. And actually, I think this applies to money too. Having too much and stockpiling it, you could start hoarding it like a dragon, and then all you care about is like guarding your money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like too much, and you have to understand you're opening yourself up for temptation. And you need to be careful. So like for me, we were playing games not too long ago, and we had a bunch of drinks or whatever, and in the safety of our own home with friends that we trusted. Trusted.
Still trust.
Until I lost
no
Mario.
longer trust Tanner.
Yeah, until I lost Mario Kart.
When you sent that blue shell, I knew.
I knew I couldn't trust you
never
anymore.
trust this man again.
But like, that was all fine. And then I was the last one awake. I had plenty of energy. I was actually starting to play a game, like on whatever. Everyone else fell asleep. And then I felt temptation hit me to go watch pornography. And so I was like, never mind. I'm not playing a game. I'm going to bed right now.
Yeah.
It's too late. I'm alone. And I have my decision making suppressed right now a little bit. It's time for bed.
Yeah.
So like you have to know yourself, and you have to understand if you have that control, because I'm sure somebody else could be like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue playing my game, and they'd be totally fine. I knew that for me, it's like hanging out in a barbershop. Eventually you're going to get a haircut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, if I just keep sitting here like a sitting duck with this crosshair on me, and I can just feel it looming over me, and I can feel the thoughts starting to spiral and that kind of stuff, and starting to contemplate, I'm like, I'm going to bed now. Not later, right now. Immediately. I didn't even save the game. I went, close, bedtime. So like you have to understand yourself. But anyways, that's more of a comment on alcohol, but I'd also say on money. And that's especially something that I don't think, or I'll say I would think it'd be much harder to fall into the temptation of making money your God if you were giving away a percentage of it. You know what I mean? And I don't even think this is about a tithe, which is a 10th part. It's about giving in general. If you have an abundance that you don't need, it doesn't. A tithe is a general standard for giving to a church body that you attend, because that actually helps manage the church body. Churches can't operate with no money. So thinking that they just need to be like this free service that you don't help donate to, if you can't afford to, that's fine. Other people who can afford to are being generous. But if you can, you should also be generous to the place that you're going and you're taking so much encouragement out of. You should also be pouring into. You should be giving that your finances so that they can continue to bring that healing and that help to other people. And if you don't believe in what they're doing, then stop supporting them financially and find a new church body to be a part of. You know what I mean? People that you feel like are truly walking with the Lord. And I don't just mean cherry picking, like, oh, you said something mean to me, so I'm going to go. It's like, no, be intelligent in these things. Be humble in these things, have wisdom. But as far as being generous, give what you can. It's not like, okay, I've checked my box, I've given my tithe, and then the rest of this, I'm going to buy a second yacht, and I'm going to buy a third private airplane, and I'm going to take a trip to go visit my German girlfriend that my wife doesn't know about, because I can financially afford to visit, and that, all that kind of stuff, and like things like that. Like, I feel like if you've got too much money on your hands like that, You've been given that money to choose where it goes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You've made this money. Now you can be like, okay, Operation Underground Railroad, go. Like, here's $1 million. Go do something with that. Mm-hmm. I trust you more right now than I don't need any more.
Yeah.
There's another analogy that John Maxwell used. He was like, if you take your phone cord, okay, you're wanting to charge your phone, you got your phone cord, and you plug it into an outlet, and it holds all the electricity, but it doesn't let anything through. What do we call that?
Broken?
Yeah. It's a broken outlet. Okay? If you are just collecting money and you never give, you're broken. That's actually being broke, I think.
Oh.
Like, because I know people who are like, we broke, but we happy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and they're not even saying it joking. Like I just mean like legitimately, they are joyful and they are content in all things. Mm-hmm. They don't need a lot. Mm-hmm. They're still stewarding well. They're not being lazy, and that's why they don't have money. They don't have necessarily skills that pay in money. Mm-hmm. They have skills that bless people. People who don't have money to give.
Yeah.
And they're content with that. They live very humbly. And they're completely content. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I forgot what I was going with that, but I think I already made my point like 5 times over. But
okay.
Yeah. Does that make you think of anything?
Oh, just the quote we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, run that by me again, dude. You said that earlier. I was like, man, I need to read that book now.
So it's a book. I am a sucker for a good like business or finance book. That's like, to me, most of my education either comes from talking to people or reading about what other people have done. One of them that I love is The Psychology of Money, and I forget what chapter it's in, but they were talking about, there was an author and another business owner on a hedge fund manager's yacht somewhere in the world. And this guy was kind of ribbing at the author and saying like, dude, this hedge fund manager made more in a day than your whole book made in its entire lifetime. And this was like, Catch-22. The book was Catch-22. I forget the author's name, but it's a big book. He made a lot of money. So this guy made a ton of money in a day. And the author goes something along the lines of like, that's true, but I have something that he'll never have, and that is enough.
Gosh, you know what that makes me think of? Do you know one of the most under or over quoted verses in the Bible?
Jeremiah 29:11.
No, something else that gets misquoted actually. It's or the meaning of it gets misquoted. Do you know Philippians 4:13?
Yes, but you should read it for the audience because they might not know. Definitely not that I don't know.
That's all good. So Philippians 4:13 by itself is a verse that says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me.
Yep.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And people go, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich because I've got the skills and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I'm going to go hit, whatever. And then they go and it doesn't succeed the first time. And they go, God doesn't love me. It's said. Can I read to you verse 10 to 13?
It's your podcast, man. Yeah, I don't.
It was more rhetorical. Yeah, you can. Yeah, that was more rhetorical. I was just trying to be polite. I'm gonna say it anyway. I'll just mute your microphone. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. This is Philippians 4:10, and I'll start there. I'm gonna go all the way to 13, so you can see the context. That's why I say never read a Bible verse. Read the context. This is Paul writing to the church in Caesarea Philippi. I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. You were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Mm-hmm. It's not about that you can go be, a multimillionaire because you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you and blah, 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 whatever. It's about no matter what happens to you, through the peace of Christ, you can be content. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean complacent, but it means that you are joyful. You're still in pursuit of doing great things and using the talents you've been given. But you're okay with where you're at.
Yeah, it's more about handling what life throws at you rather than making crazy things happen.
I realized I I realized this the other day that I haven't usually experienced too much contentment. And I know I'm really young, so it's like I had plenty of time to not be content. But like up until recently, I realized I was like, of course we want to have kids. Of course we want to have a house and that kind of stuff. And that's future things. But for right now, legitimately, I would be okay with exactly where we're at. I'm content. I wouldn't mind living in this apartment for another 5 years if I got to continue to do this. Continue to learn, continue to work in ministry and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm content. And I was like, wow, that's actually really nice.
Yeah.
But what do we got right now?
I don't know. Good question.
I was going to be so sad if that's when I realized that it wasn't recording. We're good. But I was looking at that red dot.
Start again.
I was looking at that red dot and I was like, isn't that usually flashing? It's just a solid red right now. I don't know how to feel about this. Man, yeah. So like that verse that's just that quote that you were talking about just made me think of that. Like be content in a lot, be content in a little, and work as if unto the Lord. Work as if the people you are serving and the people you are working for are Christ himself. Are you proud of the work you're doing?
Yeah.
Or if you're just going to work every day phoning it in, would you do that if your boss was Christ? Because even then it's like, it doesn't matter if you like your job. You would still do it to the best of your ability because it's not about the job. It's about who you're serving. And Christ said himself, what you did to the least of us, or did for the
least of these, you also did for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that customer that you just can't stand, that just irks you and just irritates you, whatever, what you do for them, you've also done for Christ. Show them love. You know, it's not easy, but that should be the goal, is to treat them with respect. So anyway, I feel like we can drop that there. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we?
No, what are we at time-wise?
Like 46 minutes or something.
Really?
Like yeah.
Dang.
We nailed it. That's awesome. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about the new camera, and stay tuned. I'll keep you guys all posted on when Nick's podcast drops. So freaking pumped to hear that.
Dude, it's going to be sick. I'm excited. My goal is to talk as little as possible. So it's not really my podcast, it's just kind of the guests hosted by Nick.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay. Sick. All right.
Cool.
Peace.